Hello, everyone, and welcome to this next tarot deep dive that we are doing. We are now getting into the Chariot. So I've just been thinking about it because it's sort of interesting how alchemy sort of works. Because if you consider that light actually does come from darkness, it's already sort of said in like the first Genesis. Like God moved upon the waters and he said, "Let there be light," and there came light. And then if you look into the earth, there's all kinds of precious metals. There's gold, which is basically crystallized sunlight, or other kinds of other metals that we can use. And that is why Earth is commonly associated with lead or Saturn of everyday experience, lead of everyday experience that we can transmute into things that are useful to us. Not just gold, but also copper, silver, and all other kinds of things. It's all here already. And that is part of the great work, actually. It's to transmute consciousness, material, and experience into higher forms of consciousness. Since basically that's what the clip-off sort of represents, is all that light is trapped in there. It's inside the light. So without further ado, let's get into the Chariot, the child of the powers of the waters. So yeah, it looks like we're gonna be going into some forms of alchemy already. Anyway, so let's begin. R27 refers to the zodiacal sign of Cancer, the sign into which the sun moves at the summer solstice. Interesting. The summer solstice has pretty much gone here in the south. Note that Cheth 8 Yod note that Yod Tau 400 Cheth Yod Tau has the value of 418. This is one of the most important of the keys numbers of the Liber Owl. It is the number of the word of the Aeon, Abracadabra, the cipher of the great work. Yeah, there you go. I was just talking about that. So yeah, 418 is like the number of the beast of Mr. Crowley himself. You can look it up in the Sefer Yetzirah, which is very good. Not yet. It's not Sefer Yetzirah. Sefer Sephirot. That's it. See the Equinox of Gods, page 138. Also the Temple of Solomon, the King. I'll probably actually look into that after this video. On this word alone, a complete volume could and should be written. Yeah, so triumph, victory, hope, digestion, violence, and maintain traditional ideas that die hard, ruthless, lust of destruction, obedience, faithful, authority, and under authority. Authority under authority. That's actually a really interesting concept. I can't believe I didn't read that before. But authority under authority. If you consider the fact that, like in the Rosicrucian manual, I've got it right here. I think what's more important here is this image. So if you look what we have here, so basically this is the college of the Frater Rosicrucians, or the Brothers of the Rosy Cross, right? What do you notice here? It's been pulled on by a string of Yod-He Vav-He himself, or the Tetragrammaton. Basically, that is actually how sort of a lot of the societies work, and the Chinese call this mandate of heaven when you're talking about politics. Essentially, the idea is that the reason why they have the power is because they were mandated by heaven to be in power in the first place, and in some respects, that's true. And when empires fall, it's because they lost their mandate of heaven. So the authority within the airy and earthy sort of space does fall when they lose their mandate of heaven. When you're, in a sense, not following God. So I think that's a really important thing. Cancer is the cardinal sign of the element of water. Hence, St. John's Baptist Day and the various ceremonials are connected with water and represents the first keen onrush of that element. Cancer also represents the path which leads from the great mother Bina to Geberah. And it's thus the influence of the supernal descending through the veil of water, which is blood, upon the energy of man, and so inspires it. It corresponds in this way to the Hierophant, which on the other side of the tree of life brings down the fire of Chokmah. Yeah. So that's sort of like the veil of water, which is like the blood of Christ, sort of thing. The Graal. So yeah, it's that supernal sort of bringing it all down. And that's sort of like Bina understanding, like intuition and all that other kind of thing, into that sort of area. The design of this present card has been much influenced by the Trump portrayed by Eliphas Levi. How's it now? Let's actually look at the Eliphas Levi Trump if it's there. Oh shit. Where is it? I think here we go. Yep, there you go. So that's sort of the Eliphas Levi Trump. Actually, you know what? While we're here, I think we should maybe look into this one as well. So Triumph, Victory, Hope, same thing. But weapon, sword, cherubic, sword of fire, the sacred septenary, triumph, royalty, and priesthood. Hieroglyph, a cubic chariot, cubic chariot, and it's a bit like that. Actually, that Rosicrucian thing that I was just talking about before. It's a cubic sort of chariot being led on by God, with 4 pillars and an azure and starry drapery. Interesting, because it's sort of the same thing here again too. In the chariot, between the 4 pillars, are Victor crowned with a circle adorned with the 3 radiant golden pentagrams upon his breast. Sorry, with 3 radiant golden pentagrams. Okay, so yeah. Upon his breast are 3 supposed squares. On his shoulders, the Urim and the thumb of sovereign sacrificer. Represented by the 2 crescents of the moon is Gedula and Geburah. Geburah and Gedula. So, like, that's sort of in the, when you're doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, it's like, Altam, Malkut, Vegemora, Vegedula. So basically, Gedula and Geburah. In his hand is a scepter surmounted by a globe, square and triangle. His attitude is proud and tranquil. Square and triangle. That's actually surmounted by a globe, square, and triangle. So that's actually pretty much the Philosopher's Stone, but just stacked on top of each other. When you think about it, it's like the Platonic solids. Square and triangle. I wonder what kind of triangle it is, though. Is it like the tetrahedron, or is it like the pentahedron? Both very important distinctions. So tetrahedron would more allude to like Yod-Heh Vav-Heh. Or the pentahedron would be sort of like the 4 powers of the Sphinx, the pyramids, essentially. His attitude is proud and tranquil. A double sphinx or 2 sphinxes joined at the haunches are harnessed to the chariot. They are pulling in opposite directions, but are looking the same way. They are respectively black and white. That's actually really fascinating symbolism, that they're looking one particular direction, but they're traveling different directions. That's sort of like the yin and yang, or chi and push and pull. Black and white. On the square, which forms the forepart of the Indian lingam, surmounted by the flying sphere of the Egyptians, this hieroglyph, which we produce exactly, is perhaps the most beautiful and complete of all those that are comprised in the clavicle of the tarot. The septenary is the sacred number of all theogonies, and in all symbols, because it is composed of the triad and the tetrad. The number 7 represents magical power in all its fullness. So yeah, that's sort of what what John Dee sort of used for invoking Enochian angels. He sort of um, he used a basically if you look in the British Museum, I think that's where it is. You can see like his spot where he invokes it. So basically, there's a septagram with like all the sigils and writing and whatever and divine names, and then the very center of it is a pentagram. So it's actually like 5 and 7, which would make 12. But that actually, in a way, might make more sense than even the hexagram in the ritual. I've yet to sort of really look into that. But actually, it's interesting because in the Thoth, the hexagram is sort of talked about instead of the actual instead of a septagram. So obviously, there's two overlaying sort of patterns there for anyone who's actually cares to actually maybe look into the symbolism of that. The septenary is the second of all theatres because it is composed of the triad and the tetrad. Wow, okay, that's actually pretty huge. Triad and tetrad, so basically the 3 and the 4. And that's sort of again like within like the Philosopher's Stone sort of thing. The number 7 represents magical power in all its fullness. It is the mind reinforced by all elementary potencies. It is the soul served by nature. It is the sanctum regnum mentioned in the Keys of Solomon and represented in the tarot by a crowned warrior who bears a triangle on his cuirass and is posed upon a cube to which 2 sphinxes are harnessed, straining in opposite directions while their heads are turned the same way. This warrior is armed with a fiery sword. Holds his left hand a scepter surrounded by a triangle and a sphere. I just swear we talked about that. Yeah, we did, but anyway, let's keep going. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit tired, guys. It's been a long day, so that's probably why I might not be focused. But it's been on my mind all day, so that's why I feel compelled to talk about it. Cube is the philosophical stone. There you go. The sphinxes are the 2 forces of the great agent, corresponding to Hucking and Boards. The 2 pillars of the temple. The cuirass is the knowledge of divine things, which renders the wise man invulnerable to human assaults. The scepter is the magic wand. The fiery sword is the symbol of victory over the deadly sins. 7 is the number, like the virtues, the conception of both being typified by the ancients and the figures of the 7 planets then known. So yeah, the magical 7. 7 days, 7 rays of visible light, 7 planets, 7 sins, 7. Oh, and like the number of Babylon, which is 49, which is the square root of 7, and 343 studios, which is where Halo actually got made. Also, that's the cube of 7. So yeah, that is a part of that. So we'll go back to the other one. I'm glad I actually deviated that time because that actually really pulls back another whoops, that's Golden Dawn. So that really pulls back a whole other layer of things that I didn't really think about. Okay, yeah, the canopy of the chariot is the night sky blue of Bina. So yeah, Bina, that would be, the night sky, as it's sort of, you can see as it's descending. The pillars are the 4 pillars of the universe. The regime of Tetragrammaton. The scarlet wheels represent the original energy of Geberah, which causes the revolving motion. Huh, okay. The revolving motion of Geberah is from Mars. There you go. The Graal, and I think that's actually another really important thing because what keeps you circulated, it's blood in the heart. The Graal. So maybe also consider that the Holy Grail and what keeps the chariot moving is actually sort of the heart. You could probably call the heart the chariot. And it's sort of, I guess, represented by the hexagram. The chariot is drawn by 4 sphinxes, composed of 4 cherubs: the bull, the lion, the eagle, and the man. 4 powers of the sphinx. In each sphinx, these elements are counterchanged, thus the whole represent the 16 sub-elements. Oh yeah, 4 multiplied by 4 is 16. Actually, I didn't know. So, sub-elements. I actually didn't know about that. So, the 16 sub-elements that I didn't know about in the general principles. I want to read into that now. The charioteer is clothed in the amber-colored armor appropriate to the sign. He is throned in the chariot rather than conducting it. That's a pretty important tell right there, by the way. If the wheels are sort of chained to the stereo of Bina and I guess like the supernal triad, you're not who guides who? Is it you or is it the ultimate creation, God's will kind of thing? Because the whole system is progression is perfectly balanced. His only function is to bear the Holy Grail. Really interesting because, like, I used to love sangria, and I used to make a lot of it. And sometimes the Holy Grail is called the Sun Grail. Upon his armor are 10 stars of Asaya, the inheritance of celestial dews from his mother. He bears as a crest the crab appropriate to the sign. The visor of his helmet is lower, for no man may look upon his face and live. For the same reason, no part of his body is exposed. No man may look upon his face and live. That's actually really interesting there, because I remember, because if you remember, like the Ark of the Covenant in the Old Testament, no one can actually look on the face of whatever this thing is inside this chariot, and whoever did look inside, other than Moses, was going to get zapped and destroyed. So yeah, no man may live, and I think what that simply means is when you look onto the face of God, you're like if you want to see God, you can't live. Both symbolically, literally, and proverbially, you cannot live, and that's why the visor is dropped. So, for no man may look upon his face and live, for the same reason no part of his body is exposed. So, there you go. Cancer is the house of the moon. There are thus certain analogies between this card and that of the High Priestess, but also Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. And here one recalls a card called Fortune attributed to Jupiter. There you go, sort of like that face of God sort of thing, because Jupiter is sort of the demiurge. And represented by the wheel and sometimes the swastika. The central and most important feature of this card is its center. The Holy Grail is of pure amethyst, or of the color of Jupiter, but its shape suggests the full moon and the great sea of Bina. In the center is radiant blood. The spiritual life is inferred light in the darkness. These rays, moreover, revolve, emphasizing the Jupiterian element in the symbol. So yeah, light in the darkness. We were just sort of talking about that. Actually. Now that we actually are there, I want to sort of bring to you the point in Genesis, actually, because I think this is important. So, like, the Jupiterian element, the light in the darkness. So here we go. So this is chapter 1, reading the King James Version of the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. So it sort of sprung from that, and God saw the light, and that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. So from the earth, this stuff here, the black, as you can see. God divided the firmament. We won't get too much into that, but that was the main point I wanted to bring forth. Now, let's just look at a few correspondences and see if there's anything interesting. Venus, water, Jupiter, lotus, amber, precious stones, amber, Caphra, beaten and scattered corpse, Mercury. Okay, that's interesting. Apollo, the charioteer, watercress. What is watercress? I actually want to know what that is. Watercress is a highly nutritious, fast-growing aquatic or semi-aquatic perennial plant from the often considered it's. Oh, it's this stuff. Oh, that shit grows fucking everywhere near me, man. That's so weird. Anyway, power of casting enchantments, Cancer, Lunar. Rheumaticism, so that's obviously point the human body, the stomach, a young and holy king under the starry canopy. Hecate. Interesting. Now that we've sort of gone through some of the correspondences, none of them are super striking, I guess. But so we'll now move on to the last part of this talk. As we move on to the understanding of the Thoth Tarot by Lord Milo Duquette. The child of the powers of the waters, the lord of the triumph of light, zodiacal trump of Cancer, lunar rules, Jupiter exalted. Original design, a young and holy king under the starry canopy. He drives furiously a charioteer drawn by two sphinxes, as Levi drew it. Hebrew letter, Chef, Fence, Tree of Life, Path, 18, joining Bina, understanding, colors amber, maroon, rich, bright russet, dark greenish brim. The issue of the vulture, 2-in-1, conveyed, this is the chariot of power. Drink the last oracle. And here's a quote from Harris to Crowley. The alteration of abracadabra and the Taurus discard are complete. Please forgive this brief statement. It is because I know you are so lucid and logical that I can write and tell you that I have taken such arbitrary action without consulting you, as you will realize this was a moment to say snap. I don't know what that means. Anyway. So we'll look at this. Okay, so I hope the reader will forgive me for not spending a great deal of time discussing the superficial features of this card. Okay, it's actually got quite a bit of content. They are much like those found in traditional versions of this trump. The chariot is drawn by sphinxes representing the elemental blending of the cherubic beasts. So, the starry canopy of the chariot represents the night sky. The chariot is in full armor, much like the crab of the zodiac sign of Cancer. Oh, okay, so that's actually kind of interesting. So Cancer is completely covered, or like a crab. Crab is just full of battle armor. He bears the Holy Grail, in this case a magnificent carved amethyst sacred to Jupiter, which is exalted in Cancer. The whole is a rendering of Crowley's vision of the 12th Aether in The Vision and the Voice. What I would like to focus upon is a secret of sexual alchemy that Crowley seemed anxious to convey in his comments on the chariot in the Book of Thoth. Sexual secret, I didn't see it up there, but let's go. Let's start by reviewing the above quote from Crowley's general characters of the trump as they appear in use. The issue of the vulture, 2-in-1, conveyed, this is the chariot of power. Drink the last oracle. this is perhaps the most obscure of all the verses of that work. It talks about 2 in 1 conveyed. The chariot, of course, conveys the charioteer, who conveys the Holy Grail. Therefore, the Holy Grail must represent or contain the 2 in 1, so the hexagram. But what is the Holy Grail and what is the 2 in 1? Grail mythology tells us that the Holy Grail is the cup from which Christ drank at the Last Supper, and the same one that Joseph of Arimathea used to catch the blood and water that spilled from the lip-like spear wound in the side of the crucified Christ. Joseph later conveyed the Grail and the spear to a magically constructed castle, where their mysterious powers complicated the lives of many generations of noble knights. In one very real way, the chariot is the chapel of the Holy Grail on wheels. That is so interesting. Now that we look back at this image again, this is actually probably such a powerful alchemical image, and since it's sort of, I guess it's quite busy with what's going on in there, I might actually get a full picture of it myself, because that is quite profound. So yeah, in one very word, the chariot is the chapel of the Holy Grail on wheels. So the chapel is, I guess, you. When you think about it, you are the chapel. You're the one who sort of, not even really steering it, but sort of steered by God on that little piece of string dangling from heaven. Am I trying to tell you that the precious bodily fluids of Christ are really ingredients of the 2 in 1 cocktail of the Holy Grail? In a way, yes. But let's look at it another way. Let's look at this as the issue of the vulture. In Egyptian mythology, the vulture was sacred to Ma'at, the goddess of justice and supreme balance. The vulture was said to conceive without mating. Its child immaculately conceived in a mysterious internal process that for other creatures required contributions of both male and female. The issue of the vulture is therefore the product or child of an internal marriage of 2 perfectly balanced things, or 2 in 1. 2 perfectly balanced things make the... So, here we go. When you make alchemy... So, with alchemy in regards to, like, internal alchemy, what actually makes the third thing is not even, like, the destruction. Sometimes it's not even... You're destroying the third, the 2 opposites and dissolving it into a third thing. Sometimes... They still exist. It's just the balance itself is what makes the third thing, you know? And in maintaining that balance is of utmost importance. Otherwise, it's sort of... that's sort of basically the pyramid. That's the structure of the pyramid. To make the third thing, there needs to be 2 equal faces in the equilateral triangle. Basic geometry, people. Okay, that's all fine and good, but in real life, vultures mate like every other bird, and even if they didn't, how would we humans go about emulating the magical process? For us, neither the male nor the female is a complete human unit capable of reproduction. What is absent in the male is present in the female, and vice versa. What is absent in the male is present in female. Oh, okay, so see, I got wigged out for a second saying that, like, the female contains it, but the male doesn't, which in a sense is true, because there is actually asymmetry. Like, you know, female chromosomes XX, and then there's like male XY, and the darkness comes from the light, and women are usually associated with darkness. Where did we go? Our creation of the 2 in 1 that results in the issue of a human baby is the most natural and usually the most pleasant of all cooperative endeavors. Yeah, the most pleasant, definitely. How are the principles that affect the very human sexual act reflected on a cosmic scale? However, what we do with the real 2 in 1, even though if we knew how to create it? The answer is trink. Whatever that means. Well, I guess we'll find out. An oracular word that comes from the story of Gargantua and Pantagruel. I need to read Gargantua now that it's been mentioned. A mystical satire by Franquus Rabelais. Interesting, it sounds like rebel. In the story, one of the main characters, Panurge, seeks to answer the question, should I marry? He and his companions eventually decide to seek the oracle of the bottle for the answer. After many adventures, they finally reach the temple of the bottle. They pass through the door upon which is written, En Onio Aletheia, in wine lies truth. Okay, that's fucking weird, man. Like, there's just a lot of really weird things in my own personal life that's synchronized with it. So I'm not going to get into it because it's personal, but it's very that's weird. Where Backbook, the priestess of the temple, takes them into the presence of the holy bottle. Punish poses a question, and the holy bottle answers by making a sharp sound like that of a cracking glass. Drink, drink. Panurge interprets this as an affirmative answer and an admonition to drink deep from the wellspring of life and knowledge. As you probably guessed, Panurge's question, should I marry, has deeper magical implication than simply questioning the wisdom and folly of matrimony. It should be of particular interest to us because we see so much marrying going on in the trumps of the Thoth Tarot. Recall that our Kabbalistic fairy tale in chapter 10 is all about marriage. The marriage of the prince and the princess, the holy guardian angel and his client, and the marriage of the supernal king and queen. Two things become one seems to be a formula of supreme spiritual importance in the tarot, but drink is a curious answer to the question, should I marry? Drink what? The Hebrew letter associated with the chariot is Chef, which, when spelled in full, enumerates to 418. The same number as abracadabra, the magical word that expresses the formula of the marriage of the microcosm with the macrocosm, or the aspirant to his or her holy guardian angel. This word, with a slight Lady Harris typo, can be embroidered in the canopy of the chariot, abracadabra, is also indicative of the uniting of male and female that we see expressed in other trumps as alchemical images such as the red-white lion and white-red eagle. The chariot represents the zodiac sign of Cancer, whose symbol is not too subtle glyph for a particular technique of trickery in which male and female energies and essences are perfectly prepared, balanced, and exchanged to create the two-in-one elixir of life. So the elixir of life, I guess there you go. It's the marriage of opposites, but like it's not literally two. It's still two things, but the two things make the third thing as long as it's present, I guess. Because the child doesn't really, and in a sense, the child doesn't actually grow without both parents in the house, when you think about it. So there's another thing to consider. The elixir is then conveyed in a particular manner to serve as a Eucharistic talisman of unlimited creative potential. In the language of Thelemic imagery, the elixir is brewed in the Holy Grail by Babylon Nua Imbina, the queen of our Kabbalistic fairy tale, who then offers to the beast Hadi in Hokmah, the king of our Kabbalistic fairy tale, and they both drink, and become ecstatically drunken. In doing so, they annihilate all sense of separateness and so on. See chapter 10 if you need to review this whole story. I just want to write that down, actually. Gargantuan. And I guess also the chapter 10. Almost done, people. The path of the chariot crosses the abyss and joins the fifth Sephirah, Gevurah, to the third Sephirah, Bina. Being so high on the tree of life, its mysteries deal with the most sublime and profound aspects of nature and consciousness. Please keep this in mind when you are tempted to view this card in my comments. simply an expression of sexual alchemy. As effective as this operation can be, it is only a reflection of the magic of the gods, a faint echo of the titanic forces, energy, and love that creates, sustains, and destroys the universe. So, I think that last part's very important. Love is what sustains the universe. Not love. Love doesn't destroy the universe. Love sustains it, funnily enough. But also love is actually complete nothingness. That is a paradox. That will probably keep me up at night. Anyway, thank you guys for listening and tuning in. I'm yours truly, Baphomet. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to my Substack. I'm very grateful for all this, and I'm really enjoying this so far. I want more people to view these videos, man, because I actually find that this stuff is incredibly important. And it's been very self-edifying for me. Anyway, see you guys later. Bye for now.